Israel Adesanya was the latest high-profile one to offer his thoughts on the upcoming Ilia Topuria versus Charles Oliveira fight, and he didn't hold back. He's sticking with Ilia. During a recent interview, Adesanya admired Topuria's coolness, timing, and pure brute force, and said the Spaniard has a style perfectly suited to trouble a fighter like Charles. In Izzy's view, it's Ilia's capacity to remain cold and calculating when bullets are flying that makes him lethal. He says this might be Ilia's time to properly emerge on the global scene and make some vicious noise.
Yeah, he gets caught too much for my liking. That's the thing. If he wants to go forward straight away, he's gonna get caught. I just see Ilia is too sharp with the hands.
Ilia Topuria didn't mince words at the latest press conference. Asked what he thinks is going to happen in the fight, he boldly stated that he's going to knock out Charles Oliveira in round 1. No holding back, no playing cautious. Topuria indicated he's coming in to finish quick and brutal. He instilled confidence that Charles won't be capable of dealing with his pressure, pace, or power, and that as soon as he touches down cleanly, the fight is done. For Ilia, this is not a forecast, it's a guarantee.
Question for Ilia. Ilia, if you win the belt on Saturday, you'll become two-weight UFC champion in just 9 fights. What would that say about you if you're able to accomplish that in such a short amount of time?
That I'm the best. I'm the best fighter in the world. And it's not that if I'm gonna win the belt, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna knock him out in the first round. They always used to be like this. But after the fight, you know what's happened.
Now, you've knocked out Volkanovski, you've knocked out Max Holloway. You said you're going to knock out Charles in the first round. Do you enjoy knocking out these legends of the sport?
Of course, because if you beat legends after legends, you eventually become a legend, like Dana said.
Michael Bisping was the first to jump to Topuria's defense after the recent press conference. Former middleweight champion Bisping complimented the courage of Ilia and concurred that the Spaniard gives Oliveira serious issues. Bisping pointed out Ilia's accuracy, youth, and strength and said it's a very rare combination that can upset even the most seasoned fighters. He respected Charles's resume, but made one thing certain: Ilia's the time. In Bisping's book, Topuria possesses all the tools and the mental advantage to finish this fight in annihilating form and seize the lightweight spotlight.
He gets the job done this weekend. I think he's absolutely nailed it. I think Charles Oliveira goes forward and he gets caught with something big. Ilia going up to 155 is going to increase the muscle mass, it's going to increase the recovery, it's going to increase the amount of carbs that he can take on through a training camp. He's going to recover better, he's going to be a better athlete. And Oliveira used to be 145 as well, like we talked about. So it's not like he's going to have a massive size advantage. Ilia Topuria is going to be somewhere like 175 pounds, maybe even as high as 179 pounds is what he said this week. So Ilia Topuria's got the punching power anyway. I think he's going to be the better athlete. I think he can stop the takedown. And I believe, and you know, and we've all seen it, it only takes one. That's the kind of power he has. Can he drop Charles Oliveira like that? Knock him out cold?
Henry Cejudo and Kamaru Usman both poured gas on the Ilia hype train. Both previous champions praised Topuria's explosive fighting style, his aggression within the cage, and his power with which he closes distance to wreak havoc. Cejudo called out how Ilia blends strikes so effortlessly, and Usman commented on the strength Ilia possesses in both hands. To them, it isn't all about the physical equipment, it's also the mental aspect. They characterized Ilia as a fearless fighter with elite level IQ, and he is a nightmare for anyone at 145 or above.
Right now, Ilia Topuria's got the best hands right now in mixed martial arts. What's backed up with that striking is power, and that's dangerous. Ilia Topuria is going to keep it on his feet. Just look for that body shot, come up top.
I've said it time and time again. I think Ilia Topuria right now is one of the most balanced fighter that we've seen right now, modern day. Extremely good hands, all around. Very, very good mixed martial artist. Ilia Topuria right now is at the top of the game in how he handles everything.
Even the former opponent Alexander Volkanovski had his say during an appearance on the MMA Hour with Ariel Helwani, and he didn't hold back. Volk openly said that he thinks Ilia will knock Charles Oliveira out. He quoted Ilia's good timing and how he could finish off opponents if they made mistakes. As someone who's shared the cage with Topuria, Volkanovski's words carry weight. He acknowledged Charles's toughness, but believes that once Ilia finds his rhythm, the fight could be over quickly. According to Volk, Ilia's rise is legitimate and unstoppable.
But will Charles be like, his only chance is catching me, I'm going to shoot, you know, I'm going to tell him I'm going to come forward aggressive, but I'm actually going to shoot on him. We'll see what happens. But if he comes aggressive and does what he always does, I think, yeah, Ilia.
You think he knocks him out?
I think it's a knockout, yes.
Yeah.
Demetrius Mighty Mouse Johnson also joined the growing list of fighters backing Ilia. In a recent podcast appearance, the former flyweight king broke down why he sees Topuria getting the win. Johnson highlighted Ilia's finishing instincts, footwork, and distance control. He added that Oliveira's susceptibility to getting hit might be a fatal flaw against somebody like Ilia, who does not provide second chances. In the case of Mighty Mouse, this is not a criticism of Charles, but an acknowledgement of how technical and explosive Ilia has gotten as he keeps making his way up in the rankings.
I'm gonna have to go with Ilia Topuria. I'm not gonna lie. I think Ilia Topuria is gonna find a sweet spot. He's gonna hurt Charles Oliveira because Charles Oliveira has been hurt many times. Ilia Topuria doesn't really get hurt, but he does put himself in the fire to get hurt. But this man goes in that motherfucking fire and he rises out like a motherfucking phoenix. He does not get hurt and he loves to put himself in the fire. So boys.
Even Paddy Pimblett has thrown his support behind Topuria, adding another unexpected layer to the growing wave of momentum. Paddy, known for his brash style and outspoken takes, has publicly sided with Ilia. That sort of support only fuels Topuria's momentum heading into the bout, with fans and opponents alike beginning to regard Ilia as not just a challenger, but as the next big thing. This fight has an electric atmosphere. It's obvious now, Topuria's no longer the underdog. He's the favorite walking into the flames in many people's eyes.
Do you think Ilia beats Charles then?
I think he might, to be honest. Charles is a bit chinny, isn't he? You know what I mean? He's had about 40 fights or something. He always gets punched. He always gets cracked.
Yeah. So, he's reckless, but he's super exciting.
Yeah, he is.
And he's dangerous.
Exciting. If he gets him down, I can see him winning, because that £10 difference is a big difference.
Yeah.
145 to 155, it's a big difference. People don't understand that because they don't watch the sport or they're not involved in the sport. But that £10 makes a big difference. And especially, like, Charles is like my height. Ilia's like down here when I stand up, know what I mean?
But even amid the tide of praise for Topuria, Charles Oliveira is not backing down. At a recent press conference, the Brazilian made it crystal clear he hears the noise, but it doesn't faze him. He simply replied that none of the prophecies concern him. Charles reminded everyone that he does know his value, knows what he offers, and he's been counted out previously. In his opinion, this isn't about who has the most support, it's about who shows up and delivers when it counts. And Charles is prepared.
Given Charles' immense standing in the sport, all the accolades that he has, what does a win over him do for your resume and your bid to become the greatest mixed martial artist of all time?
It always means a lot to beat those kind of fighters.
That reserved confidence was in full evidence when Charles and Ilia finally stood face to face. At their official showdown, Oliveira blinked not, flinched not, and took no step back. His demeanor was relaxed, but the message was unmistakable. He's not here for a free ride. No hesitation, no nerves to be seen. Just a man who has been to war and back and is prepared to do it all over again. For diehard fans paying attention, it was an intense moment that brought home the point. Charles Oliveira isn't afraid of anyone. Charles doubled down on that same mentality in a subsequent interview. He emphasized that no matter what Ilia is going to say, and no matter what everybody's going to say about him, he knows what's ahead. He told this fight's not about buzz, it's about reality. Charles explained that he doesn't need anybody's approval because he knows he's done the work, he's endured the setbacks, and he's learned in there. He's not invested in anybody else's perception. As much as Charles cares, he's winning, period.
100%, não importa o que ele fala, o que ele pensa, o que ele acha. O mais importante é que eu só vim buscar aquilo que é meu, aquilo que está escrito, Deus já escreveu, eu tô pronto para isso.
In another sit-down with Daniel Cormier, Charles dove even further into his mindset going into the fight. He shared with DC that he's never been more focused in his career and that this is the most determined fighter fans have ever seen. Charles pressed that he's not training to win, but to shut up all the people doubting him. In his estimation, he's taken on the underdog mantle and is willing to make it fuel. The goal is well known, show everyone wrong and reclaim what belongs to him.
Ilia had a lot to say. He said for Charles to bring a pillow. Você já viu isso várias vezes? Desses caras que falam um monte.
E quando chega lá na hora, você sabe o que acontece. O UFC me colocou porque sabe que eu posso fazer frente. Eu respeito demais ele, mas de verdade eu acredito no poder de fogo que eu tenho nas mãos. Eu posso vencer esse cara. He thinks he's gonna knock him out. Eu acredito que eu posso fazer isso. Eu tenho um poder de fogo nas mãos. Porque essas pessoas não entenderam, quanto mais eles falam que eu não posso, mais eu quero provar que eu posso. Olha a minha história lá atrás. Eu não podia jogar uma bola de futebol. Morava no fundo da casa da minha avó. Eu não tinha nem um chinelo. Olha quem eu sou hoje. Acha que eu ligo porque esses caras falam, que eles pensam?
No, he's a rich man. Big time guy, you know?
Plus 360.
Is the betting odds. Does he feel disrespected? For me, as a champion, a former champion, it would really light a fire under my ass.
Show. Na realidade eu só fico feliz. E acredito em mim vai dar muito dinheiro. Essa é real. O que me fez estar onde que eu tô hoje é porque eu não fico trazendo essas merda.
Everybody talks about punching power until Charles hits him.
Essa é real. Todos aqueles falaram que iam me bater. Quando calibra.
Max Holloway also recently weighed in on the debate, and he put his total endorsement behind Charles Oliveira. Holloway credited Charles with having a blue-collar approach, an unorthodox style, and pure determination to fight past obstacles. He noted that Charles has been tried in ways Ilia has not yet encountered and feels that championship toughness will reveal itself when times get difficult. Max said that folks are too quick to write off Charles just because Ilia's riding a wave of buzz. But as Max explained, don't ever sleep on Bronx.
From my perspective, this fight is going to be decided probably in the first 3 minutes or 4 minutes of this fight, the first round, because Oliver is going to get touched. And is Ilia going to touch him with something that puts him out cold, or is going to hurt him and then he somehow finds a way to fight back? So that's the main thing with this fight, you know. If I was a betting man on this fight, and Charles Oliveira is he's the underdog. I mean, Charles Oliveira is like one of the best fighters in the world to put money on an underdog. So
Interestingly, Demetrius Johnson returned later to provide a more balanced analysis of the fight. Having once allied himself with Ilia, Mighty Mouse set out the most important points that would make Charles a winner. He identified Oliveira's varied striking, unruly rhythm, and superior submission game as the major tools.
Key difference between number one is that he has to use his shooter box. He has to walk forward with that high guard, look to throw those high knees up the middle, or that high kick. Almost take a blueprint of Jay Herbert, how he was able to hurt Ilia Topuria, because he does have the height advantage, and Ilia Topuria does keep it low. He likes to stay low, so when he's bobbing and weaving on the X and Y axis, you can throw a knee up the middle and hopefully you can time it, kind of like Dan Hooker back in the very beginning of his career.
Johnson explained that if Charles is able to cause mayhem, get Ilia into crazy exchanges, and take the fight to the mat, he can definitely win. Mighty Mouse declared the fight not one-sided at all. It's about who dictates their game first.
Get ready to let Ilia Topuria come in your guard and stifle him. Stifle him, work the grappling, and try to get his back, lock up the body triangle, and slow down the fight. Because once you're able to slow down the fight, use your jiu-jitsu, I feel that's his best way to the victory.
Subsequently, Mighty Mouse also outlined what Ilia needs to execute to earn the victory against Charles. As far as he is concerned, Ilia has to remain calm, control distance, and not let the fight turn into a scramble. Johnson put an emphasis on discipline. Ilia has to keep to crisp fundamentals, don't wild chase finishes, and break down Charles. If Topuria is able to control the pace and avoid being baited by Oliveira's erratic tempo, Johnson feels he has every weapon at his disposal to finish the task. It's a game of chess, and both men are grandmasters.
I'm gonna have to go with Ilia Topuria. I'm not gonna lie. I think Ilia Topuria is gonna find his sweet spot. He's gonna hurt Charles Oliveira because Charles Oliveira has been hurt many times. Ilia Topuria doesn't really get hurt, but he does put himself in the fire to get hurt. But this man goes in that motherfucking fire and he rises out like a motherfucking phoenix. He does not get hurt, and he loves to put himself in the fire.
Henry Cejudo served up one of the cleaner assessments, asserting Oliveira will have to make real changes to have a hope. Cejudo cautioned that Charles can't bring the same game. He'll have to adapt if he's going to make it. It isn't about skill, it's about flexibility. The game is evolving, Cejudo said, and Topuria is that evolution. If Oliveira is not going to grow with it, he becomes a stepping stone. That pressure makes this more than a battle. It's a clash of styles, of generations, of futures impacting.
The who's at 155 pounds. I mean, everything absolutely changes, man. With Charles Oliveira taking down Michael Chandler, with Charles Oliveira taking down Justin Gaethje with those beautiful double legs. But I will say this, when I think of this fight, I always think of the distance that Charles Oliveira brings, and particularly he likes to be in close. And the fact that he likes to be in close with an inside fighter, it doesn't make sense. And that was one thing, the person that needs to make adjustments in this fight, typically you would say the lighter fighter, the smaller fighter going up, but not really. Charles Oliveira has been dropped by just about everybody that he's fought, from Chandler to Gaethje to Islam. I mean, what happens when you go up against a dude that's knocking people out, not TKOing people, knocking people out cold like Ilia Topuria? So when I'm looking at this fight, I'm saying Charles Oliveira is the guy that has to make those adjustments. If not, it's going to be the double champ. It's going to be Ilia Topuria securing himself as a 2-division world champion.
All the bravado, the heightened tension, and at the end of the day, it's business. Their latest showdown, filmed live, displayed intensity without disrespect. No smack talk, no stunts. Two top-notch performers standing eye to eye, with each displaying respect for what's about to go down. You could hear the measured give and take between them, each man looking the other up and down without blinking. It was a stark reminder, however intense the rivalry appears, this is a battle between professionals, wrestlers who love the game, the moment, and each other. And that's the story heading into one of the most anticipated clashes in the lightweight division. Two elite warriors, no bad blood, just pure competition at the highest level. Will Ilia's rise continue, or will Charles remind the world why he's still the king of chaos? Make sure to like, subscribe, and stay locked in. We'll be covering every angle, every update, and every moment leading up to fight night. This one's going to be special. Thanks for watching.